We're going to talk about the grant writer versus a grant consultant. What is the difference there? There is a difference, actually, and it will depend on what you need, is whether you're going to talk with a grant writer or a grant consultant. Um, Grant writers are primarily responsible for researching opportunities and writing grant proposals. That's what they do best. Um, Typical responsibilities are grant research. They're going to go out and find those grants that are best fit for the needs that your organization has. You know, whether that's the capital grants or capacity building grants or the program grants. They're going to put together a good grant list of opportunities for you to pursue. Um, they're going to write the proposal with along with your input and editing back and forth as you guys get the narrative set and say you want your narrative to say. Um, they offer application submission support. Oftentimes, these portals are confusing. And so a grant writer can definitely help you get those applications submitted in through the portals. And they offer basic reporting assistance. This is when you get the grant and there's an award, and a year later, they maybe sometimes 6 months, but a year later, they want to know, how did you use our funding? Did you use it the way you said it was going to be used? And it's basically like a mini application at the end of the project, just to kind of go back through, did you accomplish really what you wanted to accomplish, and did the money help you do that? Um, so hiring a grant writer is best for organizations with clear programs and budgets, defined funding targets, and maybe have an internal staff who already manages the relationships and compliance with funders. That's important. If your organization already has those relationships, then you really don't want the grant writer being the one that manages the relationship with the funder. That always should be from in-house. All right, let's talk about the grant consultant now. Um, a grant consultant can typically provide a broader strategy and just beyond the writing part. And grant consultants really can help organizations and individuals get grant ready. Um, they assess where the organization's at and how the project's going to fit in with what their grant goals are. Um, they might help you develop a funding strategy and create that pipeline of grant opportunities and then that calendar for the year. And uh, they help organizations with capacity building and systems development, which really looks like getting that organizational kind of uh, chart in place. Like, you want to know who's doing what. Do you need more people to do what you're saying you're going to do, and developing the systems of, being able to uh, track how the money's being spent, the financial systems, the metric systems where you're assessing outcomes, and how your organization is um, meeting those goals that you proposed in um, your proposal. Um, a lot of times, grant consultants do board and staff training, and they will help people understand the grant process and all the facets of what you need to know with grants and board development and staff development. And um, it's and then you sometimes have grant consultants who also do the writing part. Um, I am one of those consultants. I work with a lot of smaller organizations, and I will help people get grant ready and then eventually move them sometimes a year or two later into that grant writing space where they're acquiring grants after they've done a lot of work in-house. So that's kind of a fun evolution to see. A grant
So,
consultant,
yeah, so Sheena had a quick question here.
yeah.
So if an organization hires a grant consultant that doesn't write, will the consultant work directly with the writer to coordinate the writing with the consulting? Or would an individual have to hire both a consultant and a writer if the consultant doesn't also write?
Yeah, that's a good question. If you are, um, yes, sometimes you might have to. I've known both. I've known people who do grant consulting and that's it. I've known grant writers who that's all they do. You send them what you want, they work with the client, and they get that proposal out the door. That's it. Those do work. Grant writers do work better with organizations that are established and ready to go. There's a lot of people like me though that do the grant consulting with the writing. You're doing both and giving like very customized uh, care and advice and guidance to organizations to uh, get them to a successful point in that. So it would really, you would, that's a question that you need to ask people when you are engaging a professional, grant professional for your organization. You want to understand what it is that they are offering to do for you. That's an important
Mhm.
distinction, Steve. Good job.
That's good
Good,
to know.
good.
Yeah.
So yeah, a grant consultant's best for organizations that are really restructuring or building capacity and um, they're in a kind of state of change and honestly like that with my experience with the smaller organizations they are in a state of change because they want to go for grants and they're ready to do the work to get to that spot. What is it that we need to put in place to start applying for grants even locally, because locally the grants have become so competitive that if you don't have um, outcomes and metrics for measurement and systems in place that organizations can see that you're going to be able to tell them whether or not you've served 80% of the population or if you don't have those you can say it but they especially local organizations are going to know whether or not you have the capacity to do that. So it's really so small organizations, big organizations in a state of changing to a different level is who grant consultants work for usually. You see like leadership and capacity transitions, that's always kind of a big one. Um, and then when you work up to multi-year and diversified funding goals, that's um, where a grant consultant can be really helpful to your needs.